Hello and welcome. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about cryptocurrency investing for beginners, and we're going to look at the 5 pillars of open blockchain. Are you ready? Hang on to your seat because here we go. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. I'm not smarter than you. You are smarter than you realize. Do not trust what I say. Do your own research. And in my videos, I like to give you the links to the information I'm providing you so that you can look at it and do your own research. But don't just stop there. Take that information, go out to Google, and dig deeper. Dig deeper. Learn more. The more you learn, the better you're going to be at investing and using the opportunity that cryptocurrency provides in order to make a profit. So, now, with part of my cryptocurrency investing for beginners series, there's one point I try to make over and over again, and I repeat it because it's very important. It's one of the keys that will prevent you from losing money in cryptocurrency, and that is when you invest in cryptocurrency, think about doing it for 3 years or longer. Now, Bitcoin has been around for 10 years, and during the current 10-year history of Bitcoin, there's not a time when you could have bought Bitcoin, sold it 3 years later, and lost money. The reason why people lose money with Bitcoin is they make a Bitcoin investment, the price goes up, but at some point it goes down, and when it crashes and loses 30%, 50%, 70% of its value, it scares them and they sell it when they should have just held on and waited. And they end up becoming bitter and angry and think that Bitcoin is a terrible idea because they lost money. Well, if they had simply done nothing for 3 years or longer, at least now, historically, they would have still made money. Now, that doesn't mean it'll pan out in the future, but based on what I'm seeing and the research that I've done, in my personal opinion, this is what I tell my mom, and I'm going to share with you what I share with her. Right now, it's not a losing venture. For example, if you had bought Bitcoin, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin on January 1st, 2017, sold it on October 10th, 2019, it would have been worth $8,640. Now, today is December 8th, 2019. That value has dropped some, but it's right around the ballpark of $7,500, and so you still came out ahead. And as you can see, there are other years where the dollar amounts are significantly larger than this $8,000 amount. Bottom line is, if you bought it, held it for 3 years, you would have made money with it. So when you're buying or investing in cryptocurrency, plan on doing it longer term, and don't let the volatility scare you and get you to sell it. Because oftentimes that's the mistake that people made, was selling it while it was down instead of just waiting for the price to come back up. The presentation I'm making today is taking a lot of the points that Andreas Antonopoulos made in a presentation he did called The 5 Pillars of Open Blockchains. He has given permission that anybody can use that video and provide that content as long as they give him credit. Not only am I giving him credit for it, but I'm also going to provide a link in the description right back to his video. If you want to see his presentation in its entirety, you certainly can do so online. The 5 pillars that Andreas Antonopoulos talks about is an open blockchain is open, public, borderless, neutral, and censorship resistant. So with open, anyone can use it without proof of ID. In order to set up a Bitcoin address, I don't need to provide anybody with my identification. In fact, there's lots of software wallets, even hardware wallets, that you can go and you can set up a Bitcoin address without providing proof of ID to anybody. The only time I've had to provide proof of ID in working with blockchain is when I went to an exchange, and because of different government regulations, that exchange said, well, before we can connect up to your bank account, you got to tell us who you are. And so when it comes to them connecting up my exchange account to my bank account, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with providing proof of ID because I don't want anybody connecting up to my bank account who isn't me. And so there is a point in time where that could be a valid thing. But because anybody and everybody can create an address on Bitcoin, we could transact with Bitcoin and not have to provide any proof of ID. If I had a treadmill that you wanted to buy from me, you could pay me in Bitcoin without me ever providing any kind of ID to anybody. Or if I had some other item I was selling through a garage sale, we could do that. Another aspect of open when it comes to blockchain is PayPal gives us a good example, because with PayPal, not only do you have to have an ID to access it, but I cannot go in and extend the software that PayPal is written with an app of my own, because PayPal is a closed network, a closed software system. And Bitcoin is an open software system. Not only can I download the software that Bitcoin runs with and create my own version of that software because it's open source, it's open to the public, but I could also write apps that run on top of Bitcoin. Like there's an app coming out called Lightning, and that makes Bitcoin transactions much, much quicker. And there's a group of people that are working on the Lightning app so that Bitcoin transactions, take milliseconds instead of minutes to process. Anybody can create that app. Anybody could download the software and write a new app for it. And that's not possible with other systems because they're closed systems similar to like PayPal. The advantage of an open system is, think of the internet. In 1995, who thought that you were going to have a cell phone that you could pick it up, do a quick search on it, find a restaurant you've never been to, read reviews by people in your neighborhood who have been to that restaurant, and then have the phone navigate to you through traffic, through the streets, and help you actually get to the restaurant? In 1995, that would have been, a sci-fi fairy tale. Whereas today, we're doing that on cell phones all the time. And that kind of technology is only possible because of the internet. That is a revolutionary change in the way we live because of the internet. And blockchain is going to have the same kind of innovation happening on it because it's an open network, similar to the way the internet is an open network. In fact, one of the apps that people are building on blockchain that I think is one of the most fascinating and one of the most life-saving, useful apps is, an example of it is the IBM Food Network. Walmart and several other large grocery store chains, including Safeway and some of the others, are now requiring all of their produce and meat vendors to be part of the IBM Food Network. And what that blockchain does is it gives you a record from farm to market of every piece of celery, every apple, every chicken breast or beef steak, whether you like your ribeyes or filet mignon, whatever piece of meat you love, or if you're a vegetarian, whatever vegetables you love. Using the IBM food chain network, they can trace it from the farm all the way to the grocery store. And that way, if your romaine lettuce has gone bad, or your ice cream is bad, or whatever other, your hamburger has salmonella in it or some other thing, instead of it taking them days, weeks, and months to trace it back to the source of contamination, they can, using the IBM food chain network, they can trace it in seconds. They can trace it and see the route that piece of hamburger took from the farmer all the way to the grocery store that you bought it from. And with that kind of life-saving technology, we're going to see some huge innovations. Who knows where blockchain is going to be 10 years or 20 years from now, but we're going to see some applications that will be pretty spectacular. And so that's one of the advantages to it being an open network, an open blockchain. And so try and look for applications, try and look for cryptocurrencies that are open blockchains, open networks, because there are some that are not open. Like Facebook's Libra, for example, from what they've said and what they've written so far, it has the appearance that it will not be an open blockchain. There'll be aspects of it where you could write an app, but at the moment, according to their documentations, those apps all have to be approved by Facebook, whereas with Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the others, there is no council or body or group of people that would have to approve it. You can just write it and hook it up. So the next area is public. Everything can be verified on the public ledger of Bitcoin or Ethereum or other blockchains. And because it's public, anyone can access the ledger and review the transactions. One of the things that I do when I transfer Bitcoin from one address to another address is I go check the public ledger to see, has the transaction been accepted? Is the transaction getting processed? How many computers have approved my transaction? And so on until I make sure that it actually gets transferred to my address. Another aspect of it being public is anybody can look at it and see what's going on to verify that what is happening on the network is valid and true and has not been fraudulently done, where somebody stole Bitcoin from one address and put it into another address. The stories that you hear about people being hacked isn't because the Bitcoin ledger was hacked. It was because somebody had an account on a cryptocurrency exchange and they got the password to that person's account, or some other thing that's similar to that, where currently to date, there's no record of anybody hacking the public ledgers. All of the hacking has occurred on cryptocurrency exchanges, which are not they're not a blockchain. They're a central database. Anyway, I could get into that more if you want. If you do want me to go more in depth and explain that a little bit more clearly, let me know. But this is all part of the reason why, if you have any cryptocurrency, put it on a hardware wallet where it is safe and secure. Somewhere around 80% of the people that own blockchain have left it in an exchange like a Coinbase or Gemini or Binance or one of the other cryptocurrency exchanges. Bad idea. This is my opinion. It's not financial advice, but exchanges get hacked on a regular basis. If you want to protect your funds, move it off of the exchange and put it into a hardware wallet where you have control over your funds and you can protect it. I have other videos out there that talk about hardware wallets, so if you want to take a deeper dive into that, then just get out onto my YouTube channel and look for some of those videos on hardware wallets. Bitcoin is also borderless. There is no border. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you travel to. It's everywhere all of the time. So what do I mean by everywhere all of the time? If you wanted to, you can go out and you can download the software in order to run a Bitcoin mining operation. Anybody and their brother can go download that software and start mining Bitcoin. And once you've done that, you have added to your computer the public ledger. It actually resides on your computer. That public ledger now exists in a borderless fashion. It exists everywhere in the world. So literally, your Bitcoin is on hundreds of thousands of computers all over the world, and so it's everywhere all at one time. Not because it's some mystical thing, but rather from a practical perspective. You're on hundreds of thousands of computers worldwide. Therefore, wherever there's a computer that's running a Bitcoin mining operation, has a Bitcoin node, that computer has the ledger and means that that's another location where Bitcoin exists in. And so it's everywhere all of the time, just simply because of the number of computers and laptops and hardware out there that's running and doing Bitcoin mining. Now, another aspect of it being borderless is, if you're going from across the border, they're going to ask you, are you transporting money? Well, with Bitcoin, you're not transporting money because your money is already in their country. It's kind of similar. Think of it like your credit card. If you're going from country to country, they're not going to ask you if you're carrying credit cards. They want to know if you're transporting money across. They don't care if you're entering their country with a credit card that has a $50,000 credit limit or $100,000 or $1 million credit limit. I don't know if I'm making that up. I don't know that there's actually a credit card out there with $1 million line of credit, but maybe there is. I don't know. Anyway, Bitcoin is borderless. Another aspect of it is it's easy to transfer transactions from one country to another, but that's part of being neutral. Bitcoin is neutral in the sense that it's not going to take sides, so to speak. Take sides in the sense of if you're trying to transfer money from one account to another account, the blockchain is not going to stop that transfer. An example that Andreas Antonopoulos gives is he was trying to he had a Russian publishing company that was publishing a book he wrote, and the book he wrote is about the 5 pillars of blockchain. And in that book, the publishing company was going to pay him a $500 upfront payment for publishing his book. And so they sent the $500 to his bank, and when he didn't see the $500 deposited into his bank account, he went to the bank, and the bank said, well, we have no record of that. And so he went back to his publisher. The publisher gave him a receipt saying, here's our account, here's your bank account, here's the transaction number, yada, yada. The bank says they received it. So he took the receipt to the bank. The bank said, oh, this is locked up in our security department, and they can't tell us when the money has been stopped or when it's under investigation, and this particular transaction is under investigation. And so Andreas had to tell them, this is money from Russia. It's money because I have a publisher there. The publisher is publishing the book that's called da-da-da-da. And then they said, well, what company is that? So he tells them the company's name. And then they said, well, who owns the company? And he didn't know. So he went back and had to research who owned the company. And so then he tells them the owners of the company. They said, oh, well, the first name of one of the owners matches the first name of somebody on our terrorist watch list. And so we need more information about that person. We need more information about the company. Bottom line was it took him 7 months to get his $500. Kind of ridiculous. And unfortunately, the way our money system is set up today, it's not neutral. They can block your funds anytime, anywhere, for any reason. Whereas with blockchain, it's a system of money that does not care about who, what, when, where, or why. It only cares about, is this a legitimate transaction, yes or no? Do you have the funds you say you have? Are you authorized to transfer the money? If everything looks good, the transfer happens like that. All right, so maybe it takes a little bit longer than that clap, but the transaction doesn't take 7 months. So the 5th pillar is an open blockchain is censorship resistant. Censorship resistant is a really important thing because it means that they can't stop the sending or receiving of money. And this kind of tags along with the neutral concept, but the they we're talking about in most cases is the government. I like the example that Cedric Dahl gives. I would have loved to have put a link out there for his video, but he's taken his YouTube channel and he used to have hundreds of great cryptocurrency videos out there, and he's trimmed down his YouTube channel to about 10 or 15 videos. He took down the one where he made this quote, and so I'm going to quote him from memory, but basically he told the story about how he's Jewish and his grandfather and grandmother were put in concentration concentration camps in Germany, and men with guns came to their house and took all their treasure and then put them in the concentration camp. Well, if they had Bitcoin, if his grandparents had Bitcoin, they wouldn't have been able to take their money. They needed the private keys in order to take the money away from them. And that's one of the advantages to, as long as you have your Bitcoin on a hardware wallet, because the truth is, if you had your Bitcoin on like a Gemini exchange or one of the other exchanges that's regulated by the government, your cryptocurrency could be taken off of that exchange without your knowledge or permission. But as long as you have the private keys and you keep your cryptocurrency on a hardware wallet, if you're doing peer-to-peer transactions, the men with guns can't shut down the cryptocurrency. Another thing that he said is if you're evaluating a particular cryptocurrency, maybe you're looking at cryptocurrency XYZ, and you think, hey, XYZ, this is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. He said one of the questions you want to ask when it comes to that cryptocurrency is if the men with guns show up at that company's office and they talk to the owner or the leader or the CEO or whoever's in charge and says, shut it down, will that person have to say, I won't or I can't? And there's an important distinction right there. I won't means they may throw that guy in jail and he may have no choice and the network gets shut down and your cryptocurrency is gone. Or I can't because thousands or hundreds of thousands of people all over the world have downloaded the software. They're running Bitcoin mining operations worldwide, and I have no idea where those software applications are running. I don't know the people in Russia. I don't know the people in China. I don't know the people in other countries that are running Bitcoin, and therefore we can't shut down Bitcoin. So they can't. And that's an important difference to understand. If you're looking at a cryptocurrency and it's being run by XYZ company, and you see that its founder, Mr. XYZ, could actually shut it down because they don't publicly, it's not an open network, they didn't give people the right to download the software, the nodes aren't being run on a public network, hey, your cryptocurrency is not censorship resistant. Your cryptocurrency is only being run at the behest of that CEO or that leader of that organization, and it'll only run as long as the men with guns think it's, allow it to run. And so that's an important distinction to being censorship resistant. Bitcoin is being run on hundreds of thousands of computers. There's computers as far as I know, there's computers in every country in the world that runs Bitcoin, and so it's virtually impossible to shut it down. It's like trying to shut down the internet. Both of them are open networks. Both of them are you're unable to shut it down. One of the strengths of the internet, when they designed its core architecture, they designed it so that if a atomic bomb took out an entire city, it wouldn't be able to shut down the network because there would be nodes in other cities. There would be servers or computers running in other cities, and those servers would maintain the internet and keep it up. And so unless you shut down all computers worldwide, the internet will still be available somewhere to some degree. Anyway, that's enough out of me now. How can I be of service to you? Do you have any questions? I've covered some complex subjects tonight. I tried to cover everything briefly, but thoroughly. And so if you do have a question about what I've said, please leave a comment below. If you disagree with what I've said, I would love to hear your polite disagreements. You know things I don't know. I know things you don't know. And when we share what each of us knows, both of us are going to become smarter. And so please share that. I would love to become smarter with you. If you prefer to keep those questions and that information private, I have added a Google link. You can use that Google link and we can communicate privately using the Google form. In the meantime, I hope that you'll like, subscribe, and hodl, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.